In the early 19th century, the bustling streets of London held more than just merchants and tradesmen. In Hammersmith, fear stalked the fog-filled streets, not of a criminal, but of a ghost. What began as whispers of the supernatural would soon lead to tragedy, scandal, and an enduring question: can fear be a defense for murder? Hammersmith, a quaint village west of central London, was an area filled with hard-working townsfolk, cobbled roads, and dimly lit alleys. In 1803, stories began circulating about a ghostly apparition haunting the churchyard. Witnesses claimed it was the spirit of a man who had committed suicide a year earlier. According to local lore, the ghost wore a white shroud, blending eerily with the mist. Some said it moaned and groaned, while others claimed it leaped out to frighten unsuspecting passers-by. The tales were enough to send chills through the entire village. But what began as ghost stories quickly escalated into mass hysteria. Sightings became more frequent, and the tales more dramatic. One pregnant woman claimed the ghost had terrified her so badly that she fainted, later losing her child. Another man alleged he was chased by the specter and only escaped by jumping into a ditch. Frustrated and frightened, the people of Hammersmith took matters into their own hands. Armed patrols began scouring the streets at night, determined to capture the ghost, or whatever it was. Among these vigilantes was Francis Smith, a local man who would soon make history for all the wrong reasons. On the night of January 3, 1804, Smith was on high alert. The ghost had reportedly been seen just days earlier, and tension was at an all-time high. As Smith patrolled the streets, his musket at the ready, he spotted a figure in white emerging from the shadows. Believing he had come face to face with the infamous ghost, Smith shouted for the figure to stop. But the figure didn't respond. Panic and adrenaline surged through Smith, and without hesitation, he fired his musket. To Smith's horror, the figure he had shot was not a ghost, but a man, a local bricklayer named Thomas Millwood. Millwood had been walking home in his work clothes, white trousers, a white waistcoat, and a white apron, which tragically resembled the ghostly descriptions. The death of Thomas Millwood sent shockwaves through Hammersmith. Francis Smith was immediately arrested and charged with murder. At his trial, Smith insisted that he genuinely believed Millwood was the ghost and that he had acted out of fear. The prosecution argued that Smith had acted recklessly, firing his weapon without verifying his target. The jury faced a difficult decision: was this a case of justifiable self-defense, or had Smith's actions been driven by paranoia and hysteria? In the end, Smith was found guilty of murder and sentenced to death. However, public sympathy for his case was so overwhelming that his sentence was later commuted to a year of hard labor. But what about the ghost? Shortly after Millwood's death, the truth behind the Hammersmith ghost came to light. It turned out that a local man had been dressing up in a white sheet to scare his neighbors, thinking it was a harmless prank. Little did he know, his antics would contribute to such a tragic outcome. The man confessed and expressed deep regret for his actions. But by then, the damage was done. A man was dead, and Hammersmith's ghost stories would never be the same. The Hammersmith Ghost Murder didn't just haunt the people involved, it also left a lasting impact on British law. The case raised an important question: can someone be held responsible for a crime if they genuinely believed they were acting in self-defense? This debate would resurface nearly 2 centuries later in legal discussions, with experts often citing the case as an early example of the complexities surrounding self-defense laws. Today, Hammersmith is a thriving neighborhood, but the ghost stories of 1804 remain an enduring part of its history. The tragedy of Thomas Millwood and the hysteria that led to his death serve as a reminder of the dangers of fear and superstition. The Hammersmith ghost case is a fascinating blend of folklore, psychology, and law. It shows how deeply fear can affect human behavior and how important it is to question what we think we know. In the age of social media, where rumors and urban legends can spread like wildfire, the Hammersmith ghost case feels surprisingly relevant. Could a similar tragedy unfold today, fueled by modern hysteria and misinformation? While we may no longer fear ghosts in the same way, the lessons of 1804 remind us to question our perceptions, think critically, and never let fear cloud our judgment. The Hammersmith Ghost Murder was a tragedy born of fear and misunderstanding, but its legacy endures. It's a story that asks us to confront the unknown with reason, not panic, and to remember that sometimes, the greatest dangers lie not in the supernatural, but in ourselves.